Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming back and joining us again. We've been away for a few weeks because, well, there was no UFC events on. We all got to have a social life. It was nice, a nice summer holiday, let's say. It was a good break from the fights. I had a good time just not watching. I got to admit, Will, Gotham Netflix season came out. I was gone. People, yeah, call me sad all you want. I was watching that. Will, did you have a good time off with little one, of course, and getting some sleep on a Saturday night?
Yeah, no, it was all good. It was like I say, we spoke before we come on. It's like in the past when you have these 3-week breaks, I used to hate them. I mean, you'd see me tweeting like, "Can't wait for this, can't wait for that." Now it's a welcome break, and there's other things to do. It's like, as in yesterday, my little girl took her first steps, so it's like stuff like that. So it's good to have a break and kind of recharge your batteries, because we have got a run in for the rest of the year. We did have some fights that were on. We had James Gallagher getting sparkled out on Friday night, which was rather amusing, to say the least. So that was the only fights I've really watched outside watching tape for the cards coming up, and this card we're going to be talking about. But it's been nice to have a wee break and recharge your batteries, because, like I say, we're on here. You've got your interviews, I've got my predictions, so it's a lot of work, and they're on your days off from work, or and even on work for yourself. So it's nice to kind of recharge your batteries and just kind of switch off for a little bit.
Yeah, and look, we have fully charged and we're back, and we're going to just keep pumping these videos out for you folks. So thank you so much for all the subscribers so far that have been clicking on that subscribe button on YouTube. If anyone's joining this week and their first time, please hit that subscribe button. We will constantly put out these UFC predictions with the betting advice. We'll get the questions back on the next one. Also, we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're on all this kind of media platforms, so you can follow us on all of them. And if you've got iTunes, you can rate on iTunes, which I did not know about until recently, because I don't have an iPhone. So hit that 5 stars, not 4, not 3, not 2. And if you hit 1, I'll find out who it is and I'll come and find you. Okay? So hit that 5-star button on iTunes. Even lie and say we're awesome in the comment bit if you want. We don't mind. Alright? That'd be great. So look, we're going to talk about Gaethje versus Vick card coming up this week. So we're kicking off with some violence. It's a good way to get going. So we'll start at the bottom of the card as usual, and we'll work our way up. So the structure of the card that I have, which hopefully it won't change, we have Rani Yaha against Luke Sanders. We'll kick everyone off with your breakdown of how this fight's going to go, bro.
Yeah, interesting fight to kind of start the night. Two kind of veteran guys that have been around a long time, and guys that I thought were going to be better than what they've showed, especially coming from the Sanders side, who he's really kind of failed to really impress me. With Yaya, you get that simple jiu-jitsu guy he's okay on the feet. I think he's better than some of the BJJ guys we've had in the past when it comes to striking. But ultimately, he's looking to get the fight to the ground where he can control you, and he is really good. He reminds me of Jussi Formiga, just not as good. I think Formiga is a really elite fighter, but the guy doesn't lose all that much. Like, he's been in the UFC for 5-6 years. I think he's only lost maybe once, 3 times. So he's only lost
3 times a lady.
He doesn't lose all too much, and he beats the guys he's really supposed to beat, and then kind of loses. He lost to Tom Ninamaki, which was a close one, and Joe Soto. So solid guy. You know what his game plan's going to be. Luke Sanders, to me, has really not impressed me in his UFC tenure, and it's hard to trust him in this fight. I'll be honest with you. I'm a little bit wary. I mean, he got knocked out by Andre Sukumtath, who I think's got terrible fight IQ. He did get hit with a big shot in that one. That can happen to anybody. Then that fight with Iuri Alcantara, he was absolutely bombing on Alcantara, and then gets knee barred. So I'm like, this fight to me is like a 51-49 where I'm going. I'm going to go Luke Sanders. I'm going to give him one more try. I don't think he looked overly good against Patrick Williams last time out either. I think Williams is the guy that he's got 2 minutes of gas in him and he's done. And really, Sanders really couldn't do much with him. He did enough to win rounds, obviously, because he won via unanimous decision. But I'm going to pick him to not get taken down. I think on the feet, I think he is the faster guy. I think he needs to pick his shots a little bit better. But honestly, it could go either way. I'm going to go Luke Sanders though.
Yeah, the Williams fight, he got cracked a couple of times, and in the third round especially, that overhand that Williams cracked him a couple with, he was on wobbly legs, Sanders, so you were kind of sitting there thinking, maybe he's a bit over-aggressive with his offense and doesn't really he's a bit cocksure of himself on the defense and doesn't think that anything's coming back at him. But like you said, well, that fight was a bit like, he was just mauling, like Alcantara, like, just you thought to yourself, when's he going to get stopped? But the problem was Alcantara kept moving, and you know, technically the referee shouldn't have stopped it. And he was right. I think it was Goddard ref in that fight. He made the right decision because he was moving. He did tell the fighter, got to keep moving. Alcantara did, and he made it somehow to the end of that round, and it was bewildering. But like you say, the knee bar came in. That was Sanders making a silly move and a mistake on his part. But man, I'm with you. It's a horrible one to pick because Yaya's gas tank ain't awesome. Sanders has got a good gas tank, but the problem is Sanders, for me, he doesn't have that KO power, but he does land some powerful, he lands shots, but they're not messing people up. They're not backing people up to go, woof, I don't want to stick around here. I'm going to go with Yaya.
He could lure him into a fight. He could lure him to because Yaya is known for flopping to his back. Yeah. So it would not surprise me if Luke Sanders entered the guard of Yaya. So I can see where you're going that way.
I think Yaya might even go for a single leg, a low single leg, just back up and let Sanders come onto him and get a single on him and just get him down with those kind of little jiu-jitsu trips. Sorry. Spit that out. I'm just going to go with Yaya, get a submission here because, like you say, Sanders, it looks like he's got a lot of potential. You know, he's got the good movement. He's got he's active all the time on the striking. His fight IQ is one of the big letdowns that he has. And, you know, he's got a great gas tank. He's almost got everything you need to be I was excited when he signed up to the UFC, and he just hasn't. Yeah, I just feel a bit let down by him. I'm going to go with Yaya because I feel like I think they're both in the same place, in my opinion, in that bantamweight division. They're both not up there, the contenders. They're both not down there with the gatekeepers. They're both in the middle ground where they're kind of stuck. And I think I'll probably go with Yaya just because he has got a specialist skill. He has got something to fall back on. Whereas I think Luke Sanders is a good wrestler, but he's a good martial artist. He's not like a elite in any field. Next up, we've got in the lightweight division, Drew Dober, John Tuck. Drew Dober, who we saw in Liverpool, who is tiny, yet about 7 foot wide, like just weird, massive head. I couldn't believe how big his jawline was. Super nice guy, by the way. I'm not having to go, but yeah, Drew Dober, John Tuck. I kind of forgot about John Tuck. I won't lie. As in, forgot he was even in the UFC. It's nothing against the guy. When he first came in, he was kind of a fun fight to watch, but he's so forgettable. Like, he legitimately, you think there's nothing he does outstanding. There's nothing particularly about him that's going to get him anywhere in the UFC. Drew Dober, that Camacho fight at welterweight was absolutely bonkers. Still to this day, I will go back and watch that fight because it was awesome. And I'm thinking, if Dober was fighting at welterweight and was taking hits and was okay, I say okay, but was taking hits, I can't see John Tucker causing any problems here for Drew. I see Drew just having a bit more of everything, a bit more power, bit more combination striking, and also if he wants to get him down at will. Drew Dober's got ridiculously massive thighs as well. You know, that's an explosive man right there for movement and power. I'm going to go with Drew Dober here. I thought Yaya will get a submission. Yeah, I think Drew Dober. I'm going to go with getting a stoppage. I think he can get a stoppage here. I just feel like John Tuck is a bit inconsistent. He hasn't fought a lot since 2015 onwards, I believe. I'm going to go with Drew Dober, maybe second, third round TKO. I just don't see what Tuck can do.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm with you here. I'm in Drew Dober. I think he's got more tools. I think he's got a bit more heart. I think he's got a bit more spirit about him, a bit more will to win. Actually, when you look at John Tuck, he's wins in the UFC. Gomi, who's in jail, and Jake Lindsay, who was one of the fighters to ever come into the UFC. And to be fair,
Jake Lindsay, I think, fought recently on Shamrock FC. I think he fought him there.
Yeah. But the fighters that he has lost to be fair, like Damian Brown, tough, in your face.
Recently got cut.
Yeah, surprisingly. Josh Emmett, big power, solid fighter. Kevin Lee, we all know what he's about now. So, and Norman Park, back in the day in Manchester. Like I say, I just think that Drew Dober is just a better mixed martial artist at this point. I think he will want it more than what John Tuck will. I like what I see a little bit more. I think it could be one of these fights if Tuck kind of turns up, it could be very, very close, because Drew Dober's never really fully like dominant over his opponents. It's very, very rare that he fully puts his opponents down and out and is completely outmatching them. But he does win a lot of fights. The people he's lost to, I mean, Mercy is not a bad loss. Escudero one was a little bit. He got caught, and that happens. So, yeah, he's not beat the best of the best, but he's beat guys who I still think could beat John Tuck. I think Camacho could beat John Tuck. I think Holtzman could beat John Tuck. So, yeah, I'm going to go Drew Dober via decision.
Okay, nice. Next up in the women's flyweight division, the return of JoJo Calderwood. Certain Will Martin be happy to see a fellow country lady back, and taking on, I think, in my opinion, a more suitable opponent for her in Kalindra Figueiredo. Will, give us your look on this and try not to be biased, because she's a jock. It doesn't count.
Biased, 100% biased. I'm not even gonna. But looking at it, I think this is the best, just by looking from what I've seen in social media and what I've heard. I have spoken to her about 6 weeks ago. She's never on Twitter very much, but I do, and I've known JoJo for years. Her family, my mum and her mum know each other, so we've known. I couldn't even tell you how long I've known Joanne, and she's been in Las Vegas, I think, for pretty much this whole entire month. She's been over there, and I love the fact that she's been out there. She's been using that PI, which you're seeing that if fighters go there, they're making improvements. There's fighters on this card, which we'll talk about later on, that are making improvements, are using all that facility to their benefit, while also training at a really fairly decent camp in Vegas. It's Syndicate, she's there as well. So,
Syndicate, mate.
But what I love, the fact that she's not flip-flopping. When she was at TriStar, she was going home and back. In this camp here, she has based herself in Las Vegas and been out there a long time at the PI. She's got better training partners than she's ever had before, with Jessica Rose Clark and Roxanne Modafferi. John Wood, I think, has put a lot of time into her as well. I think they're actually doing their bits and pieces. So, and she looks happy. She sounds happy. She sounds the best she's ever seen. She looks in amazing shape. She looks as good, and mentally, I think she is in a better place than she's ever been as well. And I think this is an opponent who I think predominantly is going to be a stand-up fight, but I think Joanne can mix in takedowns in this girl. This girl doesn't defend takedowns very well at all. I think Freya, she's got some striking. We've seen that in the Jessica fight. She semi-dropped her with a nice head kick, but I thought she showed pretty bad fight IQ. She had opportunities to get back to her feet, and she decided to engage in a heel hook war, where it looked like the Jessica was kind of having the advantage down there. She had opportunities to get back to her feet, and it was obvious she was the better striker when she put it together, but she kept like clinching with her, and she got taken down. And I think that when you put these two strikers together, I think that Joanne Calderwood is a better striker. I think she's more composed. I think she can keep it at distance a little bit with teeps and stuff, which is something Joanne's always been fairly decent at throwing. And I thought she won that fight against Cynthia Calvillo, I'll be honest with you. I thought it was close, but I thought she won that fight. And she's losing, like, the the Morose fight, I'm throwing that out because there was a lot of shit going on outside the fight regarding that. Still, you've got to count it, but Jess Andrade, not many people beat that girl, not unless you've got a belt around your waist. And Calvillo has shown that she is a decent fight. She's still young and she's coming through. For me, Faria, I think she's a little bit slower. I think I do think she's okay on the feet. And the thing with Joanne is she has shown she's got some really bad defense. She does get popped in the nose. The Calvillo fight, she got popped in the nose a lot. Her nose was all bloodied up. So hopefully John Woods maybe got that all sorted and she defends herself a little bit more, because sometimes she doesn't do that. But for me, I think Joanne Calderwood's going to surprise people. She's going to mix it up with takedowns, and I think on the feet, I think she is better. So for me, I'm very, very confident in Joanne Calderwood here.
I'm with you. I think Joanne's going to shock a lot of people with her performance.
Yeah.
I think 125 is the weight class for her as well.
Yeah.
Because it was a hard cut for her going down to 115. People won't know, but there was a tough cut for her. I think 125 is the perfect weight for her. And you said about the mixing takedowns, Muay Thai is her bread and butter.
Yeah.
The trips in Muay Thai is what makes her dangerous. So if you clinch with Joanne, she's always wanting to get those little niggly elbows in, but she can do some great trips and good little inside kicks. You don't realise it, honestly, because I've trained with guys who are pro Muay Thais and that, and they just catch it and you're weightless. It's insane how annoying it is, but it's so smooth, and Joanne's really great at it. I think if people really want to appreciate what Joanne can do pre-UFC, with Invicta stuff, I think we're going to see some of that vintage kind of striking, uber confident striking. The Cynthia fight, ignore the decision, look at the performance. It was more Cynthia being evasive, more of a fighter in that fight, because she did not want to stand and throw toe-to-toe with Joanne, because she knew what Joanne can offer, such a mix and array. And I think the problem with Ferreira is she hasn't got the same arsenal as Joanne, so she's going to have a limited number of kind of combinations and strikes that she will throw, and I think Joanne will catch on quickly and counter them quickly. And I think this is where Joanne will just start to pull away. I think it'll be don't get me wrong, I think she's shown that she can take a 3 rounds, take a bit of a hit. So Ferreira's not going to go down and go to sleep. But I think you're just going to see a very, very good, smart fight from Joanne. And I think she's going to get decision win here. Definitely. I'm on board with it 100%. And I couldn't be happier for her because, like you said, spoke to her former manager and back in the day. And one of the big issues is the mind. Her mind was nowhere near it. And Sean Shelby, I spoke with him about it as well. So it's good about that. Let's go to welterweight. Mickey Gall against George Sullivan. Okay, so Mickey Gall, as we all know, your man who got in the UFC due to they needed someone to fight CM Punk. He then finally got a matchup of a suitable opponent. I say suitable opponent, but Randy Brown. You had Sage Northcote and Randy. I wouldn't even class Sage Northcote as that because he was still early in his day. I think they were both regional fighters still fighting in the UFC. But I think Randy Brown was the closest you're going to get. And you got to see a bit more of what level Randy is and Mickey is. I'm going with George. I want to put it out right now. I'm going with George, people. I know it sounds a bit crazy, but I'm going to go with George. I think George is stronger. I think he's going to have more pop in his punches. And if all George has to do is be a bit aggressive, Mickey doesn't like it when you're aggressive to him. He doesn't have very good fight IQ with the backing up and the movement and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, Mickey will try to get George down to the ground. But I think George, veteran, kicks in here. I'm going crazy. This is my kind of wild card pick. I think George is going to stop Mickey. I think George has got a bit more about him. He's a bit wiser fighter, and I know he lost, for example, he lost to Nico Price, George did, but he showed some bits in there, and he showed bits in the past where I think he can get the kid in Mickey. I think he can catch Mickey out, and I think George is weirdly going to do it. I don't know what it was, just watching the fights. Because I think, look, there's levels. George has fought some great competition compared to Mickey's record. You just look at the CVs, and it doesn't matter what you do in the gym. if you've not been experienced a fraction of that, it makes a big difference. So I'm going to go with George, mate. Crazy one, but I'm going with George.
Yeah, I can't do that myself. I don't think. I think it's a pretty bold pick going for George Sullivan. I'll be honest with you, but sometimes you've got to take those shots on spots that you see. So for me, it's interesting to see where Mickey Gall really is at, because he's like I say, he's been around the UFC for a couple of years now. I think he's shown progression. I think it's very slight, but he has shown progression. I know for this fight, he's been kind of travelling all around America and not really nailed down a place where he is all the time at a certain camp. And we're going to be interested. We're going to see what the kid's made of here, because his first loss, I mean, the guy's only had 5 fights, and he's against a guy in George Sullivan who's had a lot more fights than he has, and he's fought definitely guys better than what he's faced, definitely. But to be said that, he's got a nice win over Sage Northcutt. That's not, I think, it's kind of sniff at Northcutt. You know, he's decent, but you can see frailties with him, but a win's a win. And the Randy Brown one, lots of people were really high on Mickey in that one. I was like, no. I was on Randy Brown pretty big. That one, I think, actually beat him. Striking's getting better. You've seen that fight, but it's still not really that great. I know he's been working with Joe Schilling a lot in the run-up to this fight. But his ground game is where his bread and butter's at. If he can get you in a dominant position, he more than likely will control you, and there's a very good chance he can submit you. He couldn't do it against Randy Brown, and Randy Brown took him down, and he established. So for me, I think George Sullivan could be live very, very early on in the fight, but I think he's like 38. He's an old guy. Probably a do or die fight for him. If he doesn't win this fight, he's not going to be around the UFC anymore. He might not even be in the sport anymore, the age that he's at. So I'm going to go Mickey Gall, a 3rd round submission. I'm going to pick him by.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, my wild card that one is for this week, for this card, definitely. Next up, man, Andrew Sanchez against Markus Perez in the middleweight division. It's a tough fight. It's a good one, but it's. Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to this one, actually. I like Markus Perez as a fighter. I think he's game. That dude is game. So break that down for us.
Yeah, this is another one of these kind of coin flip fights for me. I think Markus Perez coming here short notice. He has shown in the past he's had kind of troubles with his gas tank, but since he's come into the UFC, I think he's did fairly well for himself. I don't think he's got himself a win. He came in there, I think it was Eryk Anders in his first fight in the UFC, came in there on short notice as well. That's a tough out, because Anders has got a lot of physical skills, and he's just a tough fighter. Sanchez is a guy that he obviously won the Ultimate Fighter show. He's tough, but he's losing. I mean, losing to Anthony Smith's not a bad thing, because Smith's actually fairly decent, but he was in that fight and he had every opportunity to win it as well. Ryan James, that was a bad one to lose. I don't think Ryan James is overly that great. This, to me, initially I like Markus Perez a lot, because like you said, he's game. He's a hard guy. He kind of keeps on going, even though he gets gassed. He still keeps going. He still pushes himself, and he looks to kind of pull through that. Where Sanchez is a little bit, if you get him hurt and in trouble, you can take him out, and it's shown in. Like, I always look at fighters that lose in the 3rd round as people like, can you not kind of survive, get through that? And like I said, this is me just watching it. Tough fight. I'm going to go. A lot of people are really high in Markus Perez here, but a lot of money's been coming in on Andrew Sanchez. And I think it's a pick'em over in America. It's like -110 a piece. So it's like I'm thinking it's a coin flip fight. Who can establish early? I think I'm going to go with Andrew Sanchez in this one.
Okay, I like it. Okay, it's hard. It is hard.
Yeah, I'm struggling with that one.
Yeah, like the problem I've got, the issue I had with Andrew Sanchez is he beat Eryk Anders in the tough finale, and he's not done much. Two losses now. His thing was wrestling. He just get you down, hold you down, win the fight, and he's kind of learned that can't do much for you in the UFC these days. It's not going to cut it. You can't be a one-style guy unless you're Olympic elite level. Then you can do it. And his striking isn't coming on nowhere near what it needs to. The Ryan Jans fight, you know, Ryan just has got a gas tank on him, and he can keep just throwing. And he just, do you know what he did as well? He mixed up body shots really well on at Sanchez. I think if Markus Perez can keep it standing, he can just really work on Sanchez here. But this is Perez has to keep it standing. I don't think he will, because he gets taken down. And I think he'll get taken down here. But then again, I just want to know what Sanchez can do. Like, Sanchez isn't able to finish people when he gets on top of them. He's happy with decisions. He needs to get a win here, because Sanchez might get cut if he loses. I'm going to go a little bit. I know it's short notice fight. I think Perez might get him. I think he uses his hands enough. If he can get the body kicks in, tire him out a little bit in the first round. Even if Sanchez gets him down, make it hard for him. Just get to that second, third round and just start to work that body on Sanchez. You've got him. Sanchez does not like. He's like almost like Brock. Doesn't like to get hit that much. Doesn't take it too well. Some fighters can. I don't think he has that grit to take the hits well. So I'm going to go Perez. Late stoppage. I'll go crazy on that one. Late stoppage Perez. Bollocks to it. Next up in the bantamweight division, Alcantara, who we've had mentioned before because previous opponents downloading the card, against Cory Sandhagen. It's an interesting matchup. I think it's a bit of a step up for Cory, in my opinion. I think it's Alcantara. You and I both know he's a bit inconsistent, bit frustrating. It's not in Brazil, so it's always one thing to always take into account, because Alcantara has to move his arse about. But I'm going to go with Alcantara. I think Alcantara can throw his really not great striking at Cory and land, but I think Alcantara can get Cory down, and then we get into Alcantara's more comfortable world, where Alcantara's got some legit slick submission game on MMA. Like, for MMA, he's got some good finishes, people, some good submissions. And hey, Alcantara's shown he can take a bit of a hit. Look what Luke Sanders did to him. He kept on coming. I'm hoping that Alcantara turns up where he just bites down and keeps going with it. I think he can stop Cory with a submission. I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to go for it. Second. Oh, no. Yeah, go on. Second round submission, Alcantara. Alcantara is not that far from finishing his career, but I think he still might be able to do it.
I'm with you. I like Alcantara in this fight as well. Now, I will say that I absolutely loved Sandhagen's UFC debut, because the guy, he fought the week before, 7 days later he's fighting again. Austin Arnett, we've seen he's not really...
How do you get cleared for that?
Yeah, it's... Austin Arnett is serviceable at best, but the young man handled him, and he was devastating in his attacks. Vicious low kicks, huge body shots. He worked the body so well and was just so aggressive. But I think that aggressiveness could maybe cost him here, where I think he will mix it up and he'll look for maybe takedowns in Alcantara. And we have seen Alcantara submit. I mean, Brian Kelleher caught him. I can see two things happening here. I can see maybe the pace of Sandhagen completely putting Alcantara off and pushing him to his limits, and could potentially maybe get a finish. But if Alcantara shows up the way that he can sometimes, then I think he could really put a veteran performance on this kid. And so this is going to be one of these fights where he learns a lot about himself as a fighter, what he wants to do going forward. I will put it out there, I like Sandhagen a lot, but I'm going to take the shot on Alcantara to turn up and show why, when he does turn up, the guy is a really dangerous fighter that you have to be careful with wherever the fight is, on the feet, on the ground. Saying that when he doesn't turn up, he is terrible.
Yeah, so weird. Oh.
And I've picked him in the past, where you think, again, you're hoping he's going to turn up. If he turns up, then you look like a genius. If he doesn't, you look like an absolute tramp for picking him. So I'm going to go with Alcantara here to catch him via submission, due to Sandhagen's kind of over exuberance of maybe getting him to the ground and just getting caught in something. But honestly, for the state of the division, I'd probably like Sandhagen to win, because I do think he's got a game there that once you refine it a little bit and maybe stop throwing so much volume or pick your shots a little bit better, that he could become a really good fighter in that division, and a division which is really tough. But I've got a feeling that Alcantara could possibly just catch him with the aggressiveness that Sandhagen will show, and he'll find a submission, because we've seen that, and the guy's got some beautiful jiu-jitsu technique as well. We've seen that in Manchester with the Pickett submission, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was beautiful to watch live, and it's even when you watch it on the like screens or whatever, it's just a beautiful sequence of events that he showed in that fight, and he can do that at any time. So you have to be careful with guys like that. I'm going to go Alcantara he's a big underdog as well in this one, to win via submission. I think I don't see him winning a decision. I don't see him establishing and winning a couple of rounds. So I think he has to catch him with something. So Alcantara for me there.
Nice, bro. And then I think it's a surprise matchup for me, because I would have gave Warlley Alves probably someone a bit up as a welterweight. You know, when I talk about welterweight ranking, so you got James Krause and Warlley Alves in a welterweight. Yeah, I thought it was a bit of a strange one, this one. I still do test it. I think that Warlley Alves deserves someone a bit higher, considering he beat Colby Covington. Good man. So, what's your prediction on this one, bro?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a weird one for me, seeing this matchup being made. We've seen Krause, I think he's moving up to 170. To me, I think Krause is one fight away from becoming a full-time coach. I think we're seeing him a lot you've seen him a lot in the Contender Series with Mark Montoya. I think he's put a lot into the guys that are coming up through. I think his last fight, he did not look that good at all. Was it Tom Galicchio? He was getting caught by shots by Tom Galicchio, who is no harm to the guy. He seems like a really nice guy, but he's not a great fighter. And he took his licks in that one. Did not look good. But saying that, he was coming off, I think, a fairly bad injury. And Alves, I think he's getting the slow roll here that he maybe should have got a couple of years ago, because they pushed him a little bit quick. He had Cameron Usman, Bryan Barberena, and those guys are just tough guys to fight, period. Last two fights he fought Sullivan Tuari and Sultan Aliyev, and he got stoppage last time out. So that's the kind of fights I think you have to put him in and try and build his confidence again, because like you said, when his first three fights in the UFC or outside the Alexandra fight was Joe Ban, which was close, Talib, who on his night looks really, really good and can put you out, and Colby Covington, who he submitted with inside a couple of minutes. So the guy's got potential. I think just the UFC pushed him a little bit too quick. They're slowing the roll a little bit and they're trying to build him up. I like him over James Krause here. I think he's dangerous with his submissions. I think he's faster with his strikes. I think he can. His gas tank did worry me a little bit in the past, maybe not so much. I think he picks his shots a little bit better. For me, I'm going to pick Warlley Alves. Does he finish him? If he gets him in a scramble or a predicament where he's got the chance to maybe grab a body part or get his back, I think he could possibly submit someone like James Krause. But Krause is a veteran, he's been around a long time. I just see Warlley winning this fight some way, so I'm going to pick Alves to win the fight.
I am 100% with you. I can't see how. I just don't see much in Krause these days. I'm with you. I think he's got that bug. He has got that coaching bug. You can see it. He posts a lot of stuff he's posting is him doing pad work, but holding the pad work. He's focusing on the other fighters. He's got so much in his mind that he wants to pump out to the fighters and teaching them methods and techniques and fight. And I think he's almost gone, like you say, from wanting to be a fighter and realizing that for him to get a welterweight title fight, because if he's going to the welterweight division, you got to think, okay, I'm going to fight the title. He is a long way off, and injuries can hold him back. And also, I question how many he's got left in him as well. And Warlley Alves is not the kind of guy you want to fight. My only problem was with Alves. Sorry, was the gas tank, and that was the only ever issue with him, because he just would, like you say, he used to throw so much and put everything into it. He just couldn't keep that up and that was Sultan fight. It was good fight, very clever, like a lot of clinch work, was very smart, just pinned Sultan to the cage and just held him there, kept him there, because that's exhausting. So he tired Sultan off as much as he tired himself out in a way, but it was great. Like that eye, woof, gosh, that eye was ridiculous, that swelling, and I think he can do it. I think he can do that to James. I think he'll do it easier in a way to James, pin him against the cage, and just, I think that's one thing you'll see is a lot of cage work from him, just to out muscle James, and then just get those little dirty boxing shots in, and then obviously on the break maybe go for a takedown and just let loose a couple of shots. So yeah, I'm going to Alves. I'm going to go for finish. I think second round. I think Alves got some pop in him, and I think if Canetti was getting those connections, imagine Alves hitting you. No thanks. No. Main card now. Eryk Anders getting that kind of more suitable fight for him, because what I mean by that is I thought it was a bit of a quick jump, Lyoto Machida main event. Just put it out there. That's a big jump, alright? And I take my hat off to Eryk. He is game. He keeps putting his name out to anyone. Like anytime you see a middleweight fight, like, I'll do it. Love him, right? He's not scared. He's happy to get in there. He did well against Lyoto Machida, let's be brutally honest. He did do well, because on paper, he should have got creamed. No matter what Lyoto's age or record was at the time, Lyoto was still Lyoto, had a great, vast amount of experience and knowledge. So, Tim Williams is a perfect fight for Eryk Anders. I'm not going to say perfect. It's like Christmas Day. Tim Williams, bless him, he was in the Ultimate Fighter years ago, didn't make it. Regional scene, did what he had to do to get into the UFC, though, in that sense. He did earn his stripes, got in, but he's just not that good. Like, and I'm not saying he's awful, people, because he's in the UFC, but on a UFC standard, he is not the standard needed. I think Eryk Anders is going to put him to sleep.
Yeah.
And that's just nothing against Tim Williams. I don't have any ill feelings towards him. I just don't think it's a suitable fight for him. If I'm Tim Williams, I'm thinking, oh crap, I'm that guy they want to lose to Eryk Anders, and that's what's going to happen. I think Eric's just going to put him to sleep. I really do. I just don't see it going any other way, man. I didn't put down a first round knockout.
Yeah, I'm not going to add much more to that. I think it's just, I don't think Tim Williams is any good, and we've seen like Pahota absolutely starched him. Anders is so aggressive. He hits so hard. He must be licking his chops with this guy, because he hangs his chin in the air. And someone that hits as hard as Eryk Anders does, I think he's going to walk right onto a shot and just really put him down. And I don't see it getting outside the first round. I'd be surprised. The only thing I can maybe see is Williams coming out, pushing him against the cage and keep him there. But Anders is so strong, he's going to reverse position, he's going to get underhooks, and then he's just going to unload shots and he's going to catch him with something. So I'm going to go Eryk Anders first round knockout.
Nice. And next up in the flyweight division, loving this matchup. John Moraga against Deiveson and Figueiredo. Mate, this is a crap. Well, love flyweight anyway, but loving this. Go on. Bring this exciting fight down.
This was the first fight I watched when I started watching fights for the card. Just for the fact I am a big fan of Figueiredo. I think he's a really solid all-action flyweight who he's got a nice record. He's fought a couple of fairly decent guys, and he's did what he had to do. Guys that I expected him to beat, but guys that I kind of knew. I mean, Jared Brooks, I thought he was just a little bit too big. That was a close fight. Joseph Morales, where I just thought he had too much for him. Initially, I thought that. And Beltran, I thought he always had enough for him there. Now he's getting the step up to... He's getting a big step up. A guy who fought for a world title. A guy that only loses to top guys. You look at Moraga's record, the guy only loses to the creme de la creme of the 125 division, and he looked down and out. I mean, when he lost those three in a row, Nicolau, Benavidez, Sergio Pettis, he looked down and out. He looked a kind of broken man. Then he got a fairly big, kind of easy fight in Mokhtarian, who's not that good. Surprised he's still around the UFC. He's got himself another fight in the end of the year. but then absolutely piped Bibulatov with a left hook. Absolutely just checked the chin and put him down. And then the Wilson Hayes fight was very close against two veteran guys. Wilson Hayes is still a tough guy. He got taken down a few times to get held there, but he was landing the better strikes. And people were saying, I've seen people say that was a robbery. It was in Phoenix. It was just a close fight. It's one of those fights that you could be sitting with 5 different people around watching the fight, and 3 people have got one guy and 2 have got the other. I thought the right decision was made for Moraga personally, but like I say, he only loses to the top guys in that division: Dodson, Demetrius Johnson. When he fights these type of guys, Willie Gates, Justin Scoggins, he beats some Dustin Ortiz, tough guys. No, Scoggins and Willie Gates aren't tough, but Dustin Ortiz is a tough guy. So Figueiredo was making that big step up against a guy who is beaming with confidence. He's another guy, like I was mentioning earlier on, that is training predominantly out the UFC PI, going between the MMA lab and the PI, and the work. I think he had a back problem, and he says the guys in the PI absolutely do everything to keep him healthy. He feels a different guy. So for me, this is a big step up for Figueiredo. Like I say, I am a big fan of the kid, but I like John Moraga to win the fight. I think it's going to be a close run fight. And this is his first fight fighting outside of Brazil as well. So there's that to take into consideration. So for me, I'm going to pick John Moraga to win via decision. Underdog.
Yeah, nice. I like it, bro. Yeah, well, I can kind of see why he's an underdog because of the run that Figueiredo's on. Yeah, it's if you're undefeated, ridiculous record, I can understand it. But yeah, like I say, Moraga's just turned it around. He just flipped it over. 3-fight win streak, and that's, that kind of installed into his mind that I'm good. I'm good to keep going. I'm good to be still here. And it kind of justified himself. Like, you know what? It was just those little things that I messed up on, and that's why. And yeah, I like John Moraga. I like it whenever he's on a fight card. I think good. I'm getting a good fight here. He's not a boring fighter. He's very much an entertaining fighter to watch in the flyweight division, and he puts people in horrible positions. Like, he tests anyone he fights in. Never has an easy fight unless you're Demetrius Johnson, because that doesn't count. And yeah, man, like that Wilson Hayes fight, that was a big one, I think, because Hayes he's a horrible guy to fight. Horrible matchup. Like, he's just a horrible guy to fight. And I thought Moraga, that was the one I was torn on. And when Moraga pulled through, I thought, cool, I can put you back up there. But with this fight, yeah, I think Figueiredo's, what I like about him is that when he gets you down, he's got some really good aggressive ground and pound. And I think that is something that will really I think that's something that's going to be the difference in this fight. I think he's going to get Moraga down to get the ground and pound in, and that's going to score him the points. No one's going to get stopped here. It's going 3 rounds, and I think Figueiredo will get the fight down, and that ground and pound that he gets great positions for ground and pound. He's not a guy that just lies on top of you. He's so good and active on top, and I think that this is going to be what scores it for him. I think on the feet, it's going to be so good to watch. Oh my, I can't wait to see the pair of them on the feet going at each other. But I think for Figueiredo can get that fight down just a little bit every now and then, a couple of bits of ground and pound. Judge's card, that's a +1, and then and there you go. I think it's going to be a decision win. Close for Figueiredo. I think it's going to be, it's tight. I can't wait. I think this fight is probably one of the top 2 fights I'm looking forward to on the card. It's super exciting, and it really does put into place what's going to happen in that kind of top 5 rankings for the flyweight division. What's going to be next? We're going to fight up next. Jake Ellenberger against Bam Bam. Yeah, Bryan. Oh man, Barberena. Again, Jake Ellenberger is still in the UFC. Another one, kind of like John Tuck. You think, okay. Maybe it's just the name of Jake Ellenberger. I think that's what it is. I think that's the only thing that's keeping him in the UFC. I think he's won a couple of fights in the past several years. The last time Jake Ellenberger was relevant was 2012, 2013. Like, that was the last time. That was when he was on a potential run for the title. And since then, not much about him. But he's fighting a guy in Bryan who I think, well, it's a bit of an it's an easier option for Jake here with Bryan, but not a winnable one. I think Bryan's going to win, if I'm honest with you. Because I've got to be honest, I know Jake trains with TJ. They do training. I think they do strength and conditioning together. I don't know how much he actually, how much physical one-on-one training together. They do a lot of strength and conditioning. I just think Bryan makes a dirty fight. He can take a hit, and that dude just makes it dirty. He gets close, he clinches up. He's just horrible. It's great to watch. Like, if you're fighting him, you're not in for a good night. And I think Jake, as much as he wants to tell himself he's fine, there has got to be very little confidence in him to think I can keep doing this. Because I'm not being funny. There's no way Jake can tell me he's got a championship running him. No chance. This is paycheck time now. This is just get as many fights as you can while you're in the UFC still, while they're still clinging on to it, and get that payday. I'm going Bryan here, and I think Bryan's going to stop Jake. I think probably maybe second, third round, he can really stop Jake Ellenberger. I don't see much left in Jake. Kind of like Gomi, when you just see the end, but they don't see it. That's what I see here, man.
Jake Ellenberger's 2-8 in his last 10 UFC fights.
Yeah, shocking, isn't it? Yeah, it's his name. It's that.
Yeah, I think he's won fights at the kind of most opportune moment, and in that last fight that he won over 2 years ago, he was hurt badly in that fight as well, but he just managed to pull the shot off quicker than what Matt Brown did.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm seeing here, he's getting stopped now in fights, and saying that, he was getting stopped back in there as well. But when you look at some of the people he lost to in his earlier losses, like McDonald, Lawler, Gastelum, all tough guys, Wonderboy. So that Wonderboy knockout is still one of my favourite ones I've ever seen live. It was crazy. But I think Mike Perry officially took his soul with that elbow. And yeah. I think his soul left his body entirely in that one. Dan Levy was actually at that fight. I think it was Nashville, and he says that Jake Ellenberger was down for 10 minutes solid, and they were trying, they just didn't know what to do. They didn't know what was going to happen. It was pretty scary. And then you've got someone like Ben Saunders, who is not known for knocking out guys, and he's clinching up and knee into the body and taking you out. And I think his time has passed. I think the only reason they maybe kept him around is the fact that they knew they were coming to Nebraska. I think he's from Nebraska. So it makes kind of perfect sense for him to fight in this card. Bryan Barberena is going to overwhelm him. I think he's going to outwork him. I don't know what Jake's game plan is going to be. Maybe try and take him down, which he could do. And I think that Barberena is someone that you can get down if you're elite. You've seen the Colby Covingtons of the world, who's far better than Ellenberger, do that. Barberena's a solid fighter. I mean, he nearly stopped Leon Edwards. He hit him with a really big shot there, and looked decent in that fight, even though he lost. And the guys that he loses to, I feel decent. Covington, yeah, it is what it is. I'm not going to speak about that guy. But when his back's against the wall, Warlley Alves was a massive favourite over him. Sage Northcutt was another one, and he stopped those guys. I just think his will. I think he's got power in his hands. He knows how he can win this fight. If he doesn't get taken down, and these guys are trading on the feet, I don't think it takes a big shot to put Jake Ellenberger down now, and he will go down and he will go out. So for me, I think Bryan Barberena via stoppage, via knockout, TKO in any part of this fight is a really good bet. So I'm going to go. And how cool is that he might actually beat both Ellenberger brothers as well? He beat Joe Ellenberger away back in 2014. That's a pretty cool thing having a resume. I'm going to go Bryan Barberena via TKO round. I'm going to go round number 1.
Nice. Okay. Next up is the fight I found the toughest one for me to decide on to pick. For me, this is the tightest one in my opinion when I watch Cortney Casey, Angela Hill. I find it a really tough one because I'm I find it a tough one, bro. Go on, break this down. But I want to hear what your thoughts are. See if you help me out, maybe.
Yeah, I think if I was to go back a couple of years, maybe Courtney Casey's fight IQ is terrible. I don't think she fights. I think she's got attributes that she can be really good, but she doesn't really use them. I don't think she uses her noggin all that much. But she is dangerous. She's a very dangerous. You've seen that in the Randa Marcos fight where she's a big girl. She's got long levers, so she can use that to the advantage. But she wins as many fights as she loses. So for me, this is a coin flip fight, and where the fight is going to take place. Because we've seen her when she beat Jessica Aguilar, she actually fought pretty well off her back. She was kicking off her back. Jessica Aguilar fought really stupidly in that and was taking shots she'd never taken. And then she lost close splits against Karate Hottie and Felice Herrig, I think it was. And yeah, I think she's got tools there that she can harm Angela Hill with. But it's hard to trust Courtney Casey, and I feel I can trust Angela Hill just a little bit more, even though I think she's not great. But predominantly I see this being a striking fight. I see the bigger power being on Casey's side, but the technique and output being on Angela Hill's side. I can see like a split decision kind of written all over this. So I'm going to go Angela Hill, but honestly I'm not overly confident. I think we've seen, especially since her first UFC fights, when she went to Invicta, she got the fight she needed to get to, and she beat that Livia Souza. I think it's a really good fighter. But since she went to UFC, wins Yoda and Moroz, expected to win those fights. The Ansarov fight was very close. I thought Ansarov did well in that one. For me, I'm going to pick Angela Hill. Not confident in the slightest. I think that if Courtney Casey shows up and implements the skills or some of the traits that she's got, where she can use that long reach and maybe work her jab and stuff, I think that Angela Hill is just a little bit better on the feet and a little bit more faster maybe. And she can maybe move off and not get hit back. So I'm going to go Angela Hill. Nasty, smelly, split decision. Can see this going either way.
Oh, thanks for helping me there, Will. I am with you. I'm not in a pick, but I just mean in general, it's so horrible. I know Courtney's lost too, but she's not like got knocked out. It's like say split tight decisions. It's horrible. Angela Hill, she's just such a good output. She's got such a high level. Like for your DraftKings, she's great for that. But it's horrible, mate. Horrible. Right, you went Angela Hill. I'll go Courtney Casey then, because I can't. It's so horrible to pick either one because I don't see either one of them standing out too far from another. I think go on. I'll go Courtney because I think, like you say, one of her attributes is the length. I think she could use those legs to keep straight shots, keep Angela just on the end of the punches maybe. But I'm not overly confident. But I'll go with a Courtney Casey decision. Next up we have is the co-main event. Featherweight, you got Michael Johnson against Andre Fili. Again, Michael Johnson's almost like a Jake Ellenberger. Like, not won a lot of fights. Like, I want to put this out there. He's beating Edson Barboza. Mental. Michael Johnson, yeah. He had moments where yeah.
It's real.
I can't, like, people, he has moments where he does really well, and then there's days where he's just, I don't know who he is. It's so weird. But the thing is, he's fighting a guy who's the exact same as him. Not consistent, Andre Fili. He is just like him. Like, Andre Fili he's got all his attributes, he's got the skill set, he's got the right team, and he just doesn't do it either. And you're just like, the pair of them, you just want to shake, and you're like, come on, guys. Oh man, like Michael Johnson at featherweight, damn, that kid is fast on, like, his hands are fast no matter what weight class he's in. He could be in flyweight and his hands would be super speedy. Andre Fili, you know, he looks like he's starting to find his feet, find his groove a little bit. Michael Johnson, obviously, he's trying to just I think Michael just wants to win. Do you know, he just wants to get a win, get things going. And I think he's going to get it. I'm going to go crazy here, folks. I think Michael Johnson's speed is going to be a nightmare for Andre Fili. Andre Fili's long, don't get me wrong, and he can take a hit, but Michael Johnson can crack. And I think because Michael Johnson getting at the second fight of featherweight for Michael Johnson as well, I believe, yeah. Sorry about that, just a bit of a brain fart, but yeah, I think second fight there, a little bit more comfortable. I think speed-wise on the feet, man, he can crack, and Andre Fili can sometimes be, well, he's open to getting hit, Andre. He's been hit a few times in the past. I'm going to go crazy out. I'm going to go crazy wild. I think Michael Johnson could actually get a win. Now, it's so hard to put faith in Michael Johnson, and I almost feel like this is a gamble. I'm going to go Michael Johnson via stoppage. Crazy little prediction. Go on. I'll go with that. It's a horrible one, but yeah, I think I'm going to go Michael Johnson now. Yeah.
Yeah. I like what I seen last time out from Andre Fili. Honestly, I thought that his win over Ramirez was close. Loved the fact that he timed his takedown so well. He got beat up with leg kicks pretty badly in that one there. But I think he was an underdog in that one. I think he's an underdog actually in this fight as well. So when I saw the line, I was a little bit intrigued by it, honestly, because I think he is making progressions. But I think he's coming from a camp that is in a little bit of a lull. They're losing a lot of fights at the minute. I don't know what the morale's like. I think the coaching's a little bit. I think we've seen Justin Buchholz come out and speak about Cody Garbrandt last time and how that's all going down. So that's something to take into consideration. Like I say, I think his last two fights, Artem Lubov, he did what he had to do, took him down and kept him there and never really engaged, and got the win. Really impressed with the win over Bermudez, because Bermudez, even though he's lost a lot of fights recently, is still a tough out with his wrestling, and he out-grappled the wrestler, so that was something that stuck out to me. But when you look back through his career, he's lost to good strikers. I think if you're a good striker, you can beat him. Calvin Kattar absolutely jabbed the face off him in that fight, and how I didn't see that, considering I watched the Kattar fights and knew he had great boxing. Yair Rodriguez, serious kicking game, but does follow up with strikes as well. So I think there's elements where he gets caught in striking exchanges. We've seen that, especially with that flying head kick that he get caught with. But Kattar was busting him up. And that's where Michael Johnson is going to really hurt him here, because I think he's got the fastest hands in the UFC. I think he's got big power. And when the guy shows up, the guy is a nightmare. And he beats, on his best day, he knocks out Dustin Poirier inside 90 seconds. On his worst day, he's getting absolutely torn to bits. But to be honest with you, in losing to good, hard-nosed fighters, but he lost to Reza Madadi way back in the day. So when he turns up, he's good. When he doesn't, he is terrible. 3-fight losing streak, dominated by Khabib. He had a little bit of an inkling in that fight where he caught him with a shot. Justin Geathje, I think he got emotionally involved and got just
poor fight IQ.
Got his lost his head, started engaging in a brawl, and then ultimately paid the price. He hit that guy like 2 or 3 times in that fight, and blew his wad, tried to finish him when he could have picked his shots and then gassed. And then you do not want to gas against someone like Justin Geathje, because he's a reaper. If he sees you're hurt and he's seen that he's broken you, you're in deep shit. And then Darren Elkins, that was a tough fight to go down to 145 against. The one thing for Fili here, that Darren Elkins is from the same camp, so he can maybe help him out with that. I'm going to go Michael Johnson as well. I was initially on Andre Fili. This was the fight I've kind of watched a little bit more, and I noticed that like Fili struggles against good boxers, good fast strikers as well. So I think Fili's maybe one to get takedowns, but I think Johnson can maybe stop the takedown with him. So I don't think Fili's great. I think he's improving with his takedowns and his grappling. So I think he can potentially get back to his feet. But he needs this win. Lost 5 of his last 6. Needs to establish himself at 145. I think he might fight smart, fight safe, use that hand speed, angle off, and don't get caught in exchanges, and don't get caught in grappling exchanges where you're getting put against the cage, which I think Fili will try and implement. And I think if Fili over commits, he could end up eating a shot and get put to sleep. I think there's every possibility that could happen. But I'm going to go Michael Johnson via decision.
Okay, nice, yeah, wicked. Main event time. We just mentioned his name, Justin Geathje against James Vick. There's a bit of bad blood. That's why this bout came about, really. You know, that's why the two of them got matched up. We saw at the UFC 25th anniversary press conference a bit more bad. James Vick trying to trash talk with statistics. It kind of didn't work. It was kind of awkward trash talk, but he did it. It happened. I think people were hyped up anyway, you know. But let's see how you view this fight, bro, because I'm intrigued about who you're picking and why.
Yeah, I think it's a good fight. I think it's a good fight to make in the division. I think that James Vick, in my opinion, has never got the respect he deserves coming through that division. He's had to take the long way to get into that top 15, and he's one of those guys that fighters don't want to fight because there's no real upside to beating him. Maybe in a year's time, if he beats a couple of guys ranked, then that would be a decent win on your record. And the guy's huge for the division. I mean, he's massive for the division, huge reach. I remember when I met him in Vegas, I was like, how do you make 155? It's crazy. He's huge. I'm not kidding you. If you ever meet him, he is massive. And he beats who's put in front of him. He's beat decent guys. I mean, back in the day, Jake Matthew had a lot of steam, and Nick Hine fight was very, very close. But the only thing that really stands out is he lost to Michael Chiesa on the show. That was a long ass time ago. That was 2012, I think it was.
That's a while back. I feel old now.
Yeah, I know. Beneil Dariush, he got caught, and that's, I think, where Justin Geathje can maybe catch him, because he does leave his chin in there. He's got that tall man defense, but I think he's masked that a little bit better kind of over the years, and he doesn't get hit with as many shots. The guy's got huge leverage. He's got power there. He mixes up with kicks. What I like from James Vick is that I think he's got a couple of different ways to win fights. I think he can be aggressive against the people he needs to be, and then like the last time against Trinaldo, Trinaldo's a tough bastard to fight. He really is, and he got a lot of shit for kind of running. Well, not running, just backing away, resetting, and then going again. You can't stand in front of Trinaldo because he will catch you with shots. He's one of those OAPs that just is a hard fucker to put away, and it's hard to look good against. So I understand why he fought the way he did. Underrated grappling skills. I think he's got really good jiu-jitsu. Those long arms, if he gets it under your neck, you're in deep shit. Joseph Duffy, I think, a lot of people were writing him off in the Duffy fight. I picked Vick and bet Vick in that fight. I just thought that he could eventually break through Joseph Duffy. He was losing that fight up until then, to be honest with you. Duffy was winning. It was close, but I thought Duffy was doing the better work throughout there, and then he caught him and then put him out, so he did what he had to do. But yeah, Justin Geathje, great fighter to watch, but the way I'm looking at it for this fight is I cannot pick a guy who prioritises having brawls over winning fights. He's all about being the most violent fighter, win or lose. Dude, you need to win fights. You can be the most violent guy, but fucking win fights as well. And to be fair to him, he's been thrown into kind of the gauntlet when he came to the UFC. Michael Johnson, and then he was facing your people like Eddie Alvarez, who's another tough guy. If you don't put him down, he could ultimately put you down, and we've seen that in the past. Dustin Poirier, who's just a savage, he was beating up those legs. I think the one thing I say every fight with Justin Geathje is use your wrestling. The dude is a good wrestler, but he just loves to brawl too much. So he's got that. I don't know whether he's not got the confidence in his wrestling, that he just thinks, right, I need to brawl. The only way he knows how to fight is to brawl. And he's come out and said he's only got like 5 fights left. That's a red flag to me. So the guy's looking at, he's counting down how many fights he's got left in his career. That's not good to me at all. Takes shots in every fight. Palomino caught him with big shots. Firmino even hit him with a shot. Alvarez and Poirier, but he was given as good as he got. He was licking them with those leg kicks that he's got. But I just don't think he fights to his full potential. And like I say, James Vick doesn't get the respect he deserves. I think there's opportunities for Gaethje in this fight. I really do. I think if he can get in, chop at those legs, which he does with everybody. So I think he will do it in this fight. And I don't see James Vick initiating takedowns. So I think Vick's going to be fighting long, picking him with strikes and trying to angle off. And then eventually, if Gaethje maybe does shoot, he can maybe catch him with a submission. But it's tough because Gaethje, if he sees that he's got you wilting, I don't think there's a guy in the UFC that is. I think it was Michael Chandler. I watched an interview earlier on today. He said, like, even the thought of fighting Justin Geathje is horrible because he's that guy that you know he's going to be there and you know he's going to throw down and he could hit you with a big shot and it's just never going to be a good fight. I'm going to pick James Vick. I think he's got a couple of ways to win the fight. I think he's going to fight smart, maybe frustrate Justin Geathje. I think that Gaethje's defense is right there. He's got his arms up. So if you can pick, especially the long arms that he's got, uppercuts, maybe work the body and lower those hands where he can open up with hooks, he could hurt Justin Geathje. Gaethje gets hurt every single fight, so I don't see that changing here. I see him potentially putting down Justin Geathje. I think he will put down Justin Geathje late on in the fight, like we've seen with Cory and Alves, that eventually you break him down and eventually the shots are there where you can hit him. So I'm going to go 4th round TKO victory for James Vick.
Nice. Well, you took it right away from me there when he talked about defense. I was going to bring it up. He does the classic 11 o'clock defense, but what he does is he holds it until you finish the combination in a way, and he goes, "Okay, cool, my turn now." And that's a psychological thing that he likes to have. But you know that uppercut is there, and Eddie Alvarez saw it and he started to land it. And people need to pop that right or left uppercut, and then just follow with a left hook to that body, that liver, just good crack, just go pop, pop, and that is right there. Oh, that is there for the taking all day long. You start landing a couple of them in the first, second round, that pays dividends in the 3rd and 4th, because that's what you'll get with, at least that's something I give to Gaethje. You will get a 3rd and a 4th with him at least. You know, you're not. He's not at that Chuck Liddell latter stage yet where just a little tick and it'll knock him down. I think he can still take a bit of a kicking, but that's the problem. He'll take a beating, and you can't, like you said before, being a punch bag is not a good thing. Makes your career short. Why on earth he thinks he has to be this most violent man? I will admit, I'm not that arsed. I don't care. I won't sit there in 5 years and go, "Oh, do you remember how violent Justin Geathje was? Oh, yeah, it was. He's watching it." No, I'll sit back in 5 years' time and go, "God, what a wasted talent that lad was. He could have done something great in the UFC, but he just was an idiot." And that's what everyone else will say. I'm not being... The lad can say all he wants. That is what everyone's going to say about him. I think Vick's got this. I think Vick has got this in the bag. He's taken the losses he needed to learn, to grow, develop, and I think he's going to go in and use that lovely 1-2, those long arms, those kicks, and just keep Gaethje away. You keep Gaethje away, he hates it because Gaethje can't then engage in you, and that's not what he wants. He wants to get tight in, and he just wants to, like you say, just wants to have that classic brawl. And I think Vick's just going to dismantle him. I think Vick's got this confidence about him. I like it. He's not cocky. It's confidence. There's a big difference between the two there, and he's just got that. He's got the noggin. He's smart. He knows what he's going to do, and I think he's going to apply a great game plan in this fight. And I'm going to go with Vick. I'll go with you. I think he'll stop. I think he'll stop Gaethje. 4th or 5th round as well. I think he'll just pick him apart. I think it'll be the coming out party for James Vick. I think he'll finally get that recognition that he should have had a while back, and I think he'll get what he should and the respect he should get, bro. I'm with you 100% on that. Yeah,
no, I think it's a good fight. I think that I'm seeing a lot of people kind of really confident in Vick, and I'm seeing some people saying that James Vick's not that good and he's dog shit and he's this and that. I'm like, I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing. I think it's just the way some people see things, and they maybe don't like the way a guy is or whatever. But the guy's got skills. He's shown that. He's beat tough guys. But it's a good main event. It's good barometer to see where James Vick is, if he's going to be a top 10 guy. Is Justin Geathje? I feel like he has to change something up eventually. He can't fight. Use your wrestling if you can. I don't understand. He's got that there to use, but I just think he likes to brawl too much. So I think he's got this whole. He has to do it for the fans, and he can mix up, and he can still do that, but mix it up as well. But it's a good fight, and I'm looking forward to seeing if Vick can come through and establish himself as a top 10 guy, pretty much.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, bro, let's go to the bets. Will's bets, people. Bro, there's got to be some good little picks here. There has to be. Give us some info. Give us some information bombs.
Yeah, well, the lines have been out for a good week, like 3 weeks before the event even started, which was crazy.
Yeah.
UFC 228, all the odds are out for that one as well, which is 3 weeks.
Weird. Yeah,
so
weird,
it's actually good for people like me looking into bets and seeing what I like. I've only got the one bet for this card. Yeah, I have one bet for this one. I'm probably going to have probably 3, maybe 4, depending. There's a few spots that I like. The one bet I have made is John Moraga. I got him at plus 138. He's an underdog. I just think that he's a tough guy. Fought better caliber opposition. Figueiredo's coming into the UFC, like coming out of Brazil for the first time. So that's a huge thing, and he's got to step up an opponent here. So for me, that is when I looked at it, I thought, right, that odd's a little bit off, and I think the line is still at John Moraga. Where are you? He's still plus 125. So I got the good line on that. So the lines went down since, and I expect that to become a little bit closer by fight time. I think it could be a pick'em by fight time. So if you like Figueiredo, he could be close to dog money by the time the fight comes round. So maybe not a bad bet to look at. The other one I am very, very certain I'm going to bet on is Joanne Calderwood. Her line, she's a -1 in America. She's a -170 favourite. I think over here in the UK, her line is -155, 57 in that region. So still there's some value there. I don't see that changing all too much. I'm seeing a lot of people on Joanne Calderwood as well. This is, when I look at the card, I don't see it really as a parlay card. I think there's some props in there that you might like to go and have a shot at. Alcantara's kind of tempting me. He's plus 205. James Vick is -150. So I think there's value there, but I see that getting closer to fight time as well, which is still...
So wait a little bit.
It's like reading lines is an unbelievable... Like if you're good at reading lines...
So you mean that, for example, he's plus 200, but minus 200, he might minus 150, but maybe close to fight time he might come down to 100.
Yeah, he might minus 120, minus 110.
Yeah.
Once you get into fight week, that's when the meat of the, like, these lines have been out, and I've seen people that have bet certain fighters, and the lines have already went lower, so they're actually losing out in money and losing out in value.
Right.
Maybe 150. Like some of the guys, like Markus Perez was -135, and he is -110. So you're losing out in 25 cents or 25, whatever you're kind of calculating on. So you're losing out. Joanne Calderwood, I've seen people bet at -175. She was -160. So you're losing out. Reading lines and hitting them at the right time is an art form in itself, which is something I'm still learning. I've been lucky. I've been on the side of hitting some good ones, but also you need to be careful because the smart money seems to come in around fight time. So those big bettors come in and they put the money in and the line's shorten, and then you're made to look a little bit of a fool. So it's a tricky thing, but Fili's a dog if you like Fili. I think it's more a straight pick kind of card with some props. I think Barberena inside the distance.
I was about to say, yeah, KO inside distance, yeah. I
think that is not. Look, Sanders has went to an underdog. Surprising. Like Mickey Gall maybe inside the distance. I don't know what that number is. The only one prop wise I like is Bryan Barberena. I think to win inside the distance. I think that'll be. I don't know. Those lines are out in the UK yet, but that's something I like.
But would you go, for example, the main event, not to go to distance? That'll be because you don't have to pick. Do you? You can bet that it doesn't go the distance, can't you?
Yeah. Justin Geathje fights generally don't go the distance.
Yeah.
There's 25 minutes for guys to be taken out, and it's since he's come into the UFC, he hasn't got to the final bell. Even in the PFL or WSOF, didn't happen all that much either. So it's a good bet there, depending on what the odds are. I've not really looked at them. I'm just looking more at the straight picks right now.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably going to bet Moraga's definitely down. Calderwood's definitely more or less down. Vick is tempting me, but it's hard picking against Gaethje because he's just a fucking warrior and he's hard to put away. But I think the smart money, in my opinion, is on James Vick. And then there's people like Angela Hill's kind of interested me. I don't know why, because I think it's going to be a close fight, so I need to stay away. And yeah, but I'm seeing a lot of people like using this card as big parlay stacks. So you've got Eryk Anders and Bryan Barberena, and they're putting them together with people down the line with fights announced. So for me, I think I'm going to stay away. When I've looked at my betting record the last kind of few months, I'm doing really well with underdog picks, but my straight picks is where I'm at, and I'm throwing in parlays here and there and winning some and losing some. So I think I'm doing all right with it. I'm having a really good year actually, betting wise, getting all that money back that I lost pretty much last year when I shit the bed. Round about when I had my little one, when I looked at the first 6 months of the year, did really well. Baby came between June and December, really, like, you can see it, my betting record's up there, hit the shits, but now it's going that way again. So yeah, hopefully I can keep it going with this card. And then we've got 228, where literally might as well just talk about some of the odds that are out for that one right now, just while I'm looking at it. And we'll look at the main event. Where are we? Darren Till, where are you? There he is. So Darren Till is an underdog at -100, with the champion Tyron Woodley at -120. So that by fight time, Darren Till might be the favourite over Tyron. So, and there is a line there which is crazy to me right now. Looking at it, it's on the main card. There's 3 women's fights in the main card. It's not that. It's Yair Rodriguez against Zabit Magomed Sharipov.
Zabit's like crazy, like plus 300 or something, isn't he?
-550.
Sorry, 3. Oh, 550 now.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard it was -300 something, so people would be still betting on it.
That was probably the opening odds, but he's skyrocketed up, and Yair's at +400, which is, when I'm looking at that, I'm like that's what a bet. Craig White, I think he's a bigger underdog over a bigger favourite over Diego Sanchez. I'm a little bit like, ooh, really? I know Diego's he is on the decrease in his career, but he's still tough, and if you don't hit him with that shot, he's a nightmare to face. And there's like Tatiana Suarez, huge favourite over Esparza. Bryan Caraway, Aljamain Sterling and Corey Stamen, that's a pick'em, -110 for Sterling against -120 Stamen. Nico Price is +125 against 155 for Al Hassan. John Dodson's an underdog against Jimmy Rivera.
Fair enough.
Jim Miller's an underdog against Alex White. I think Alex White's got a good chance of winning that fight, but not. And there's there's Valentina Shevchenko at -1100. That should be
minus 3,000 or
probably
500.
Should be. So just looking ahead to that card, I think the prelims are going to be really good in that card. You got Darren Stewart, he's a +165 dog. I think his confidence will be kind of sky high after the Liverpool performance, where he took his time and didn't blow his wad trying to get that finish, and eventually got it. So I'm interested. That's a fight I'm interested in. Just looking at it now.
Spicely got cut as well after
recently too. But yeah, 228 is going to be a good one. And we've got good fights coming the rest of the year, and Curtis Blades and Ngannou, and we've got Poirier, and there's no even point in mentioning fights coming ahead without Khabib and Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor, what's his odds actually? Let's look at the odds.
Who's that?
Conor McGregor is an underdog at +160 at the minute, and he's got every opportunity he could win that fight, but he's got every opportunity where he could get absolutely demolished in that fight as well. So it's how you see it. For Miga against Perez, that's going to be a great fight as well. So
great fight.
We've got some good fights coming out after. I think we've got this card, then we've got a break for a week, then back for 228, and I think literally from there is fight cards every week till the end of the year.
It's insane.
Around Christmas, but that's it. It's crazy. So we're going to have a crazy run into the year. We're going to have podcasts left, right, and centre every week, which is something that when you take these breaks, you look forward to getting back to. So looking forward to chatting about those cards coming up in the near future.
Agreed, bro. Me too. Can't wait, man. It's going to be awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again, as always, for listening. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And we'll be back next week No, we'll be we will be back next week because we'll be doing for the week ahead.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so we'll be back next week, folks. So yeah, look forward to speaking to you all then, and thank you for joining in.